I don't know. You all are in for a treat. And I know, right? You're gonna slide all over. But all of you online, hi guys, welcome. And you are all in for a treat. What I would love for you to do is take out a notepad or your phone if you think of a question. We are gonna just open it up. This is a dialogue and a conversation. And yet, I want to make sure that you get all of your questions answered. So thank you for coming in and joining us. So this is Kendra Olsen and Travis Anderson, and we are overjoyed to have you all in our market center. I've known Travis for, I don't know, like
13 years.
Yeah. Like, how old's your oldest?
She's 13.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it would be just about that time. So I've known Travis for that long. We used to make calls together in a call room, and we would be partnered up with other agents, one by the name of Ryan Gunvalson. I'm not sure if he's on yet. And we would have a hoot of a time making lead generation calls or following up on lead calls and doing LP Mama on those calls. It's a script.
This is true.
This is a script. Or we would do objection handlers when we'd have the basket in the middle of the table and we'd have to pass it around with the little strips of paper on it and overcome objections. And so it's been a long time, a long relationship. And Kendra, I just recently met, and she's phenomenal, so talented. How long have you been in the business?
A little over 7 years, almost 7 years.
Yeah. Got into the biz and now just has taken over. Has pretty much taken over that. So tell us a little bit about each of you before we get started. I have my list of the questions. Did you share these with Kendra? You did. Yes. Good. Perfect. So everybody's prepared. But tell us first a little bit about yourselves, what you do outside of real estate. Is anything that you find important to share with us? So I'm going to start with you, Kendra. Tell us about you, and anything you'd like to share.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, outside of real estate, I parent mainly. So we have 2 kids on the outside and 1 growing. And then otherwise I basically play lots of volleyball.
Yeah.
So
And just like recently played volleyball, like just within the last, Travis and I were chatting and he's like, yeah, she just played.
That's her husband.
Oh, Joe played. Oh, Joe's the.
yeah. He, I forced him to play once.
Yeah.
And then he like fell in love and got obsessed and became very good at it. So it's great. Now we get to play together. Yeah.
Joe's her husband. Is it Sophia and Brennan? Is that right?
Yeah, Sophia and Brendan.
Brendan.
Sophia's 10 and then Brendan is 5. Yeah.
So you're not busy at all.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Kind of boring.
It's just that phase of life. It's fun though.
Oh, what a beautiful season. It goes so fast.
And they organize,
Yeah, that's fun. All right, Trav, tell us about you.
I would say samesies. I don't play volleyball anymore. But also 3 kids, also married. And yeah, it takes up all the time. All the fun is spent with them. I do golf when I'm able. Like I try to do it like once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week. I really try. Yeah, last year I golfed like for in 9 holes at a time or whatever. I did that like 18 times. That's pretty good, like 9 rounds of golf. But when I was in my 20s, when we met, I golfed like 30 times a year. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a big deal.
yeah. That's just kids.
I know it happens. It happens. Okay, so let's look at business for a minute. Travis, tell us what intrigued you about real estate that got you into the business many, many moons ago.
Yeah, investments. You and I were talking about investments a little while ago. So I purchased an investment property in like November of 2003 and liked the process of the transaction, thought it would be like super easy. I was completely misguided and got my real estate license in March of '04. So that's what got me into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kendra, how did you get into this crazy biz?
Well, I actually had a family friend growing up who was a realtor that always, like from the time I turned 18, was like, you should be a realtor. You should really try it. And I didn't. And then at some point, I was doing actually like a leasing consultant. So essentially property management, but more on the leasing side. And was just ready for something more. It was after Sophia, and it was boring. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna jump head first into this thing that I have been told is a good idea. And it worked out, which is really good.
Yeah.
Can I share how we met?
Yes, I was gonna just say, because you guys have such a cool dynamic energy. So yeah, share with us how y'all met.
Super fun. So I was in a class just like this, and my friend, who I've known for a long time, his name is Paul, was calling me, and I wasn't answering my phone. And then at a break, it was a good long class. So at a break, I went out, saw he called. I called him. He said, "Hey, my niece, excuse me, my niece Kendra is getting into the industry, and you should call her." I'm like, awesome. So I called her right then and there. At that moment in time, she was in meeting with Angela Hauer, our team leader, and Angela said, "You should meet Travis." She didn't take my call because she was in a meeting.
You too.
Angela, and then she called me afterwards, and it's kind of cool.
It is.
It's
how
very
it
interesting how
all,
it all worked out.
how it all works. And you've been together now for 7 years.
Yep.
All right, so I know.
We're business married.
So I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about how y'all have stuck together, because this is in a changing market. Oftentimes we can hear of teams that sometimes stay together and sometimes don't. And I'm fascinated by the people that end up having this longevity. 7 years is a pretty long time to be in business together. What do you
It's
think?
like we're right at the divorce thing.
What do you think? The 7-year itch.
We're gonna do.
What do you think we're?
We'll get through.
Let you know in about an hour.
He's like, after this meeting.
No, I mean, I think our intention is to be in business together always. I will say there is something for me that I truly believe that no matter what is happening or what's going on, that Travis will essentially keep my best interest in mind too. So there's a trust, and I think that we have similar values. I think that's the values piece is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I would just second it. There isn't much more
Yeah,
to say.
that was pretty good. Yeah, it's really good. And it's kind of cool because it's not, I don't want to say it's rare, yet it's a little bit rare. It's special. When you find that, that's a cool thing. It's a very cool thing. In your business, where would you say your greatest source of business comes from?
Referrals.
Yeah, repeat
Yeah.
referral for sure.
Yeah.
We took it really seriously I don't remember the year. It was before you came on. We really looked at the BOLD program and the database and building it and being really intentional and doing, back then it was a 33 touch. I think it's a 36 touch. We still do 33. And we took it really seriously, and then it repaid us seriously. And so that's when I started looking for help. It was at the point where we needed to. In that year, well, I actually do remember because it was 2013 that I was by myself and sold 65 homes, somewhere in there. It was exactly 65 homes. And I have family, kids. My son was just born a couple years prior. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this for long. So then we started looking for help. But the database really drives our company.
And you still have them set up on a 33 touch.
Yep.
And then do you do client events throughout the year?
Yeah, so we always do a pie event,
Okay.
which, I mean, has sort of progressed throughout the years. I mean, I think COVID, you sort of had to do different things, so we were like a drive-through
Yeah,
pickup.
yeah.
At that point in time, but we used to deliver them all. And then there got to be enough where that was crazy, like logistically, like planning routes. And then I think I was pregnant with Brendan. That was the last year we did it. Cause I was like, almost like, I was like full term pregnant, like do this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And my husband was like, no, you're not gonna drive around and deliver ridiculous amounts of pies. So that one was too much, I think. And then we decided to do an event, and that was more fun anyways, because we actually got to like have time with people
Yeah.
and really like, I don't know, have deeper conversations. And, I don't know in terms of like referrals, if that was more impactful or not, but I feel like either way, just sending the invite is.
Just strengthening the relationships.
Mhm.
That's very cool. And then I would assume that you do like, a touch or a series of touches to invite them. Do you set it up with an Eventbrite link? Do you do any of that?
Yeah.
All that stuff? Right.
That is how we do. Yeah.
Yep. The sinner's like, yep, I can show up now. I show up. I know.
And then show up.
This brings up a really good point. Who else on your team? Tell us the organizational chart of the team.
Yeah, we have Crystal is our transaction manager. So she handles our checklist. Our checklist is about 150 points per client if they go to a successful closing. And then we have Maddie Stocker, who handles our marketing. I think we're going to be transitioning out of that role. Crystal will probably take on a little bit more of that. And then we have Abigail Jacobson, who's another realtor on our team.
Very fun. Within your team, actually within your team, but also within yourselves, what do you think that you do differently that makes you stand out from the competition, or you bring a differentiator? What is it with the Travis Anderson group that differentiates you from the other agents?
We'll both answer this one, but I'd like to answer.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that we are very, very focused on the level of service that we're giving. So, I mean, the way that I think about it, like we take our responsibility to put their interests first very seriously. That's the main thing.
Yeah. The checklist is really vital,
Yeah.
like when we started building the checklist, it was, make copies of the purchase agreement to turn into the office and then schedule the inspection and right. And there was about 10 items on there. So just to, put that into perspective, when we're talking about 150 some odd things that we do per client, I think that differentiates us automatically. And we get that in the form of referrals. I mean, the customers respond to the checklist. And then it also allows, Kendra, for example, she doesn't have to do anything after the purchase agreement's turned in. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but I mean, even to the tune of not having to generate another referral, which is a pretty big deal. And then she mentioned the service. When we're trained as agents, and I know there's agents in this room that would agree with what I'm about to say, you'll hear things like, we need to protect our time. And if somebody is calling you on Mother's Day, you tell them you can't do it because it's Mother's Day and things like that. And I fundamentally think that's not true. And so as a single agent, I think you all fundamentally think it's not true as well. But then it becomes really hard, right? Because I have had people call me on Mother's Day or whatever. And so we provide the service no matter what, right? And to the tune of like the other day I called or I texted or something. And I'm like, hey, I have a commitment, need to show a home at whatever time, can you help? And I think you said like, is there another time? It's like, no. And I said, if you can't do it, I'll do it. So we're like fighting over who's going to do it. That really is what ended up happening is like this text back and forth. I'm like, if you can't do it, I'll make it work, whatever. And I would have had to have like missed, my son's whatever, right? I don't want to miss my son's anything, but I will. And so, I think that speaks volumes to the customer. I don't want to do it. We built the team so we don't have to do it as often, is what I would say.
Well, I think that situation in particular, I was like, I can make that work. And if it, because in that moment, what's really nice about this dynamic is in that moment, it was easier for me to move what I had going on than it was for you. And there's times where the opposite is true. So it is nice to have that option, obviously. But then at the end of the day, we still both feel ownership to like take care of that client no matter what, I'm never going to be the reason they don't get a house.
Right. Gary Keller has said you should protect your time unapologetically. And I think that's totally true. You should absolutely do that. And then you should build a team so that you can do that. That's my advice for people who need to protect their time unapologetically.
That's really good. And there is a little bit of a dynamic, would you agree, that in your family life, we tend to choose partners that understand, and if they don't understand, they learn to understand the fact that we are a little bit crazy. Right. And then you just set up what your boundaries are. So like that protection of time unapologetically might be like, I know we're going to go to the T-ball game and I'm not going to have my phone on at the T-ball game because at the T-ball game, that's my unapologetic blocked time. In the parking lot on the way to the T-ball game, I'm going to follow up on a lead.
Yeah.
And that's how this is going to work. And then they all are like, okay. Well, at least, like Jimmy's kind of grown to be like, okie dokie. And maybe Amy and Joe are kind of like that too, where they get it. It's not as though it just becomes our way of life.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that it's always easy,
right?
Or that they always in that moment understand. But at the same time, like, yeah, overarching, they get that is a part of this life. But you get other things. You get to, like, the middle of the day things that like my kids do at school, I never miss, So I think that there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
I mean, to everything, but there's things we get to do other people don't.
Mm-hmm. You just get to get really smart about what we want it to look like.
Mhm.
So cool. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you guys are facing right now?
Market.
Yeah. Need more.
What specifically in the market are you finding? We just had a really good ALC meeting and we talked about the market. So what are you guys seeing that's causing challenges for you?
Well, just more touches, right? So you have to do more in the time that you have to allow for the compensation that you need to continue moving forward. So, this happens. It's part of it. And that's acceptable to us, We'll get through it. We'll get through our 7 years, right?
Mhm.
And then on the other side of it, you get to take more market share, which is kind of neat. But we saw last year in like August. No, it was actually sooner, wasn't it? I think we felt it in August, but we started with the research showed a little bit sooner. It's maybe like June. And demand was decreasing while supply was increasing. And I said something like, if this continues, we'll feel this, what happened. I said like a light switch, but we don't know when the light switch will go off. And it was like August or September of last year. And then it maybe picked back up or something for Christmas time or something. But it's like gone. I mean, the light switch is off completely. It doesn't mean that there aren't multiple offers and doesn't mean, it's just odd. So it's hard to communicate with the buyer. Hey, you still need to consider these things when writing an offer because the best homes sell.
Right.
But not every home is selling. And so you want the best home, unfortunately, for all of us.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, but it means you have to do what's necessary to get the home too. So that still happens. So it's just, those are the challenges that we deal with always.
Mhm.
We've been through that.
Yeah.
Us old ones. We've been through, 2006, 7, 8, 9. 10. Did it end? When did
January 2012.
January 2012? That's when it ended?
Yeah.
Hey, can you share with us what you look at? Because I thought this was fascinating. When you and I were talking on, I don't know, one of our talks, and you were saying, here's what I look at. I look at this data.
Yeah. Well, we pull info sparks
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
is really helpful, or we'll just look, pull the data right from the MLS and kind of cross-reference it. But the info sparks is really good. So if you look at info sparks, you can see January 2012 was the bottom of our market, and it just, skyrocketed from that point forward. And it's always interesting when you see, let's say you see like a market going down and then it kind of goes up like that and then back down and it bottoms out later. It's almost always a federal government intervention. Not talking politically good or bad.
Right.
But when you look, and if you look across all of our sales over the last 40 years, you can circle them and then it's a direct link to the federal government doing something, which is really interesting. And so that happened obviously in 2020, it happened in 2010, it happened again in 2016 with the tax cuts. So you can just circle it. So when that if a trend is going in a certain direction and then it all of a sudden changes, obviously ride the wave as quickly as you can, but it is going to continue in the downward trend or upward trend until the market corrects itself.
Okay, so what is the advice for those that are listening that haven't faced a shifted market?
I mean, I've never been through a shifting market, but
Never been through a
So-
downward shifting market.
that's true. That's true. It's a good point. I think, to like expand upon the challenge part
Yeah.
for the advice part. I think part of the challenge is that the last few years have been so reactive that it's like your time is spent showing lots and lots of houses, writing lots and lots of offers. And it's like you're busy innately, like you're kind of just reacting to what people's needs are, which is kind of easy in a weird, I mean, obviously it was exhausting, but it was easy in the sense that you know exactly what you need to do. And then now it's kind of like, okay, so all those habits that I should have during that time that I didn't have time, now I actually have to do those things that then cause our spheres to grow. We have more people then in our to get referrals from, down the road, obviously, but we also just need to talk to a lot more people in order to, feed our families and
Yeah.
such.
Yeah. We're reading a book right now. The ALC is reading Selling in a Crisis, Jeb Blount. It's a good book. It's a really good book. And he talks exactly about that. And I don't remember what page it was, but it was, you just have to talk to more people. You just have to embrace the fact that you're going to have to talk to more people. And the results are not going to be in direct proportion to the number of people you're talking to. So once we get really at peace with that, then you just know. You can't wish your life away. Wish it was different. I wish it was different. It is.
Can I add something to that?
Please do.
I think I would encourage everybody to take marketing share. So Gary Keller talks about taking market share, which is obviously a percentage of sales in your market, right? That all I love when he talks about those things. The market determines a lot of how we're able to close a transaction though. And so instead of taking market share, what if you could increase your marketing share, not the money, but the communication that you have with the consumers? And so if you aren't, communicating with the database right now, I would obviously encourage you to do that first. And then whatever that number is, I would like double it or triple it, right? And then by the time the market comes back around, you'll now have 2 or 3 times more people that are actually ready to make a move. And then you'll be hiring people you wouldn't be able to handle yourself.
Yeah, it's so true. It's very, very true. Think about the trainings that you've had over the years. What would you say is 1 or 2 of the most impactful trainings that you've taken that has helped you in your business?
Bold. And definitely.
Bold. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that's likely number 1, just because there is a consistency there too, where you're doing it over a period of time. And then, it's not just like a 1-day class or something like that.
Yeah. Would you say bold?
Wish for 4 hours instead of 8, I wish they just crammed it all in 4 hours and said, go along with your day.
And he shortened it.
Yeah.
They did. They did.
Did they?
Yeah, they actually did.
For that same reason that everyone.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good. Hi, Holly. Volt's phenomenal. Quantum Leap is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Six Personal Perspectives is
That would be my other
phenomenal.
favorite.
6 personal perspectives. Yeah,
Coaching Skills Camp is great for KW.
yeah. Asking great questions. So good. Quantum Leap, for those of you that have not taken Quantum Leap, it is not a real estate class. It is a life class. And it's a play on words because we think quantum leap, we think like big leaps and bounds. And actually the definition of quantum is very small. And it was a class written by Gary. And it's just the notes to himself. So he said it's a class that I talk to myself about. And so that's one of Jared and my favorite. And remember when we did that, the 7 levels to something or other? We did something really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I do remember.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was that and 36, 12, 3.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 classes that we then loved the most. But we're old.
36-12-3, just
Endearing.
So
a
good.
great class.
That's great.
So if somebody feels stuck in their business, what would you recommend that they do? What's your advice?
I think it's the like attachment to the productivity or like the activity, I should say. And being unattached to the outcome.
Oh, that's good.
Because I think that is the hardest
It's really good.
part. I mean, at least for me, it's that constant reminder that it's like, well, the activity should breed results eventually, right? If I'm doing the right things anyway. And it's also the only thing I can actually control. So
Yeah. Can you say that one more time? Do you remember what you said? Attached.
She remembers. She remembers.
oh, say it again, because it was so good. Being attached to the activity rather than the
Yeah.
outcome.
Be unattached to the outcome.
Yeah, that's the big part. Mhm.
So good.
That's a Travis-ism.
It's a thing. It's a thing. What about you, Trav? What would you say on top of that or give a different twist?
Yeah, it's so good though. As you said it so eloquent. So, surrounding yourself with the right people is really important, I think. I do find the action thing to be really interesting because, even in bold training, they talk about how your programming determines your thoughts, which determines your feelings, which determines your actions, right? And they kind of make it sound like it starts with your thoughts. But I actually disagree with that fundamentally. I think there is no start, right? So you can take action on something and then it'll just continue on that loop as well. So it doesn't start anywhere,
Right.
but you can choose where it starts.
Yeah.
And you can really choose your thoughts, of course, which would lead to your actions or your feelings, excuse me. But you could also choose your actions. And I think that to Kendra's point, I think if you start taking action towards something and you're not getting the results you want, remove yourself from the outcome, keep taking action. It happens. Like, it's such a weird thing. A couple weeks ago, I started just texting. I was in a funk, You ever been in a funk, Jared? Funk, Kendra and I were talking to her like every other day or something, and she could tell. She's like, oh shit. Travis is in a funk, And then I'm just gonna start texting people at random. And so when somebody would come into my mind, I'd text them. And we would have like a quick chat via text. And then, of course, let's say I text my friend Scott, who I was introduced to from a guy named Chad, and then I text Chad, and then, oh, Chad's married, And by the end of the day, I've maybe texted like 30 people. And I did this for like 2 weeks. And then I get a call from a guy named Joe, referred Joe to Kendra quick, and maybe it was the other way around, doesn't matter. And I'm like, I never texted Joe, but I texted his mom and his sister. Okay. I'm 100% certain that they had a conversation, right?
Sure.
I don't know where it's coming from. And I don't know Joe very well. I don't know him that well. I probably wouldn't have texted him.
Yeah.
Which I didn't. And so, I don't know, it came kind of right at a time where, again, I was kind of in a funk and we were talking about we really need to make a sale or something like that. I was leaving town. Kendra went out on a Saturday. I came back on Sunday and she's like, oh yeah, like, did I tell you that Joe bought a house or whatever? Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's great.
yeah. And it was all because you just decided to do something.
Yeah. Yes.
Just do something. And I love that you reached out. So were you just like checking in? How you doing?
Just checking in. Yeah,
Good.
thinking about you today,
Yeah.
or, and again, I really did, like, if I was thinking of somebody, I texted them. And so, even like driving over here, I drive past 10 clients' houses. I think about them the whole way and I don't reach out. So,
Yeah. I love that you did that. Tell me, did it help you with your mindset? Did it get
Yeah.
you out of the funk?
Yeah.
Yep. Just do something. Oh, this is such a good question. You ready? Okay, what's one thing you failed at that you learned the most from, and what was the lesson?
narrow this down to one thing.
Oh. Just one
I
thing.
mean, I failed so much, it's ridiculous. I've hired. a
I
lot of
really enjoy
people.
not
That's
thinking about that
amazing.
part.
That's super fun.
It's super fun. Tell us more.
No, I'm just, I don't know, I'm just, so I was sharing this story with you. There's a friend of mine so I'm 41. How old am I? I'm 42. And, yeah. And when I was 33, she bought a home with another realtor, and I had known her for 21 years at the time. Just wrap that around your brain for a minute. And I remember talking about her because I said something like, our relationship could buy a beer. And when you're 33, to have a 21-year-old relationship is kind of a long relationship. And she bought a home with another person. And I have lots of mistakes from that, if you think about it, right? Like, I didn't communicate well enough. There's just so many things that I didn't do as a realtor, as a friend, whatever, all of the things. And somebody even as close as that could choose another realtor. And so, yeah, like that stuff happens. And it's like, I have to take ownership on like the mistakes that I made, whether I'm not communicating well enough as a friend, or not communicating well enough as a realtor, or not being there for, when her, kids are going through something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things there that you learn.
Well, and what I'm curious about with that, because we did talk about that particular situation, and yet now when I asked you what was your number one source of business, and you're like, it's our database and it's our referrals. So whatever that was years ago has now galvanized, has shown up, you've learned from it, and now like you now know that that's your number one business. So you obviously the lesson was learned.
Yeah, and then we'll do it again.
And it's still being
Yeah,
learned,
yeah.
And then yeah.
We'll make all those mistakes again.
Yeah. I have a very similar story. I mean, I was communicating with, it was like one of my brother's best friends growing up. And, the communication was always, oh, we're probably a year out, right? Which people generally say when they're thinking about buying a house. And, so I had talked about getting over there and, those things. And then all of a sudden, through my mom, of course, it's like, oh, did you know they bought a house? Like, oh, dang it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even that, then you're like, okay, if somebody says a year, I don't assume that that's actually what they mean.
Yes.
They're still adjusting to the idea that they're moving, and then, they're going to figure it out as they go.
Right.
So it's just on us to be communicating in that moment.
We win or we learn, right?
Mhm.
We just learn
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the lessons is that they show up in different clothes. But if you dig back deep enough, it's kind of a repeating thing until you learn it. And then you learn it, and then something else shows up. That's what we always love about growth. So fun.
I could expand on something that is probably important to share. And it's not necessarily something that I failed at that I learned from, but it's acknowledging that I'm failing at something or that I lack something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's something within my character or my personality or my actions or my mindset or something that just isn't, I will never have, to put it that way. And so then I have to surround myself with somebody that can pick up those pieces. And I think that goes with like even a market center that you're with or a business partner. So that took a long time. That took a lot of maturity.
Yeah. Just to realize it, first of all, to
Yes.
acknowledge it.
Almost impossible to say, oh yeah, I will never be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like really hard to acknowledge.
Yeah. It's not something that I'll be
Yeah.
super good at.
Yeah.
And then to go find a person that is, and then be like, not micromanaging them or controlling them because they're actually better at whatever it is that you aren't as good at. And
Once you find it, it's somewhat magic. It's kind of like, you actually don't have to worry about micromanaging or anything like that, but, yeah. If they don't have it, then you are micromanaging because then you expect something that they're not
Exactly.
providing you.
when was it that you knew you had it? Do you remember the
Number one, love at first sight, not gonna lie. Yeah, it was pretty.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a real estate license. Now what do I do?
Got it.
But I mean, I think still though, it's like I very quickly knew that it was a good fit. I mean, we still went through like the whole process, like a whole interview process. We met, I don't know, 3 or 4 times
Mhm.
before, we actually agreed to move forward together and.
Yeah, I'm good at the hiring slow thing. Gary says hire slow, fire fast. Hiring slow. Got it. Firing fast? Huh? Not so good at that yet.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
What do you think? What do you think is the greatest challenge with that piece of it? Because I bet you there's somebody in the crowd that might struggle with that too.
Well, just empathy for someone, you know.
Yeah.
Compassion.
Well, there's obviously a reason that you hired them.
Right.
You saw something that would be a good fit or should in theory equate to a successful realtor. And yet, there's
Yeah, or
something not
support
working
staff.
out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
or
sometimes you have like the personality sometimes doesn't work or the values. It's interesting. Kendra brought up values. We actually did hire someone a couple of years ago to do our marketing, and the values, we didn't know they didn't align. The hiring slow thing appeared to point us in the right direction. But the values just were not there. I mean, really interesting stuff. I mean, I actually didn't understand that people don't think like me. What do you mean? You're not willing to do that one thing for somebody that you've never met before, which we do all the time.
Yeah.
Right? We're willing to sacrifice like a lot for someone that you will, and you may never meet again. It's like, well, what do you mean you're not willing? I'm paying you hourly. Like, I might not even get paid for this.
Yeah, all right, it's surprising, huh? Okay, what would you like the agents who are listening today to start doing, stop doing, or do differently? Because of what we've talked about so far. What would you like the agents who are listening today to start doing, stop doing, or do differently based upon what we've talked about so far?
I mean, where my focus is right now on the start doing is just continuing to build relationships. I think with where my business is at right now, it's kind of the single most important thing that I can do is just continue to obviously expand upon the relationships that I have and build deeper ones. And then hopefully through that and just through being in the world, meet more people.
Yeah, just make more connections.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
What would you tell them to stop doing?
That is really hard. I don't know.
Everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like stop waiting for it to come to you, probably. I mean, it's really like in the last few years, you kind of had a lot of people just like raise their hands. And then you're so busy, you're kind of like, you just assume it's going to like keep coming.
Yeah.
It's gonna land in your lap and somebody's gonna need you. And they do need you, they just don't necessarily know that. And so it's the I'm going back to what you shouldn't do now, which you should stop doing. But I was gonna say, like, then, continuing to provide value to people, even when maybe they don't seem like their motivation is there, because we can't, just as much as we can't create motivation for people, we also can't fully know their motivation.
So
What was the
good.
last thing? So start, stop, and then
Start, stop, or do differently.
cool.
Anything you'd like to add?
If you're not in the sale, we broke the sales process down to like really basic terminology that like a 5-year-old could understand. And so if you're not doing the sales process, then start there, right? And then stop doing everything else, which I think is basically what Kendra said.
Forward.
We talk about like meeting new people and communicating with them on purpose and over time. That's the sales process. And then in addition to that, you're providing exceptional service and asking for referrals and things like that. But if you did nothing else but met new people and communicated with those people on purpose and over time, then, I mean, forget about sitting up here, right? I mean, it would be great. Yeah, if I did it as well as I say that we should do it, then you would never see me ever again. Because I would be like just chilling on the beach. So
One day.
just take my own advice.
What do you guys do to strengthen your mindset? Do you guys have a book that you read? Do you listen to podcasts? Is it that you go be with family or friends, or do you go work out? Or what do you do for your minds that we can talk about in public? No.
I listen to like political stuff. I just get mad. I go after it. Works. It's funny because I think everybody has different motivators. I shouldn't say everybody, but like I watched Grant Cardone speak, and I thought it was going to be the worst thing ever. He appears to me to be this egotistical maniac, and then he spent like 25 minutes fawning over his wife, and I fell immediately in love with him. I still can't watch a video. I can't. I've tried to watch his videos, can't do it. But in person, amazing. And he actually said that he doesn't like the whole mind right thing. He like wakes up pissed off every day, and then he goes out and tries to like fix his pain. Cool. That's not how I live my life. But so it's not, whatever I say isn't going to work for everybody. But reading books is good, and calling Kendra when I'm bummed out.
I can say that I actually do call Travis often in those moments. I think it is the people that you have in your life in many ways, having people that can sort of help keep you on that path a little bit. Obviously my husband is a big one for me. But also like I have that support system that I can kind of go, here's what I would like to be like right now. And yet here's where I am, like what's going on. And for me, I have to verbalize like everything. So I need that part of it too. And then, yeah, obviously whatever you're surrounding yourself with. So whatever that might be, like books, even like down to TV shows for me, like I can't watch certain things because I will just be down in the dumps.
So interesting. And you have to be really mindful of it, especially when the market is different or there's wonkiness happening in the economy. You have to be really careful about what you put in front of your eyes or in front of your ears. And sometimes we might not think about it because we don't really realize it. And then all of a sudden we're like, why am I crabby? What exactly is happening right now?
Mhm.
And then you think, oh, yeah, I started out my day this way instead of the way that I usually do it.
And if crabby gets you into the sales process, then be crabby.
Like that's crabby.
But if it doesn't, then you better figure out something that can get you in the right mindset, for sure.
Yeah.
But part of it is taking action, and that.
Yeah, you made a good point. It's like we're all different. I mean, the way that we like maybe the mindset we need even is slightly different, you know, to be productive or to do the activity we said we were gonna do. And so we're all gonna have slightly different. I mean, there's obviously, there's a model to follow. So if it's not working, there's something that you can model after and go, okay, here's what I am gonna do. And then I have to tweak it, you know, because I
fit
might
you.
not operate, yeah, to fit how I best operate.
Okay, so I always ask this question, and you and I have talked about this, and you're like, I don't know, and I don't want you to ask me that question. And so I'm gonna ask that question.
Well, what I said was, I'm gonna answer, you can't ask me a question that I won't answer truthfully, so are you sure you?
Yeah. All right, so what are your 5-year goals?
Well, just ladies first, just have it. Ladies first, but I can go,
Unfair and
I can
stuff.
go.
Yeah, so I don't mind. Just like to give you a hard time. Yeah, so 5-year goals. I mean, most of my 5-year goals have to do with my family, right? So that's where I'm at in life. So as weird as it sounds, in 5 years, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a 5-year-old, basically almost, and then a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old ish, you know, right about there. And you know, our lifestyle actually won't be that much different than it is right now. So, I mean, a lot of it for me is just making sure they get to do everything that they want to do, you know. They're all, you know, activities and just all the things, right? You're like, the kids they're so fun. They're also very expensive, and you want to be able to provide those opportunities. So that's a big part of it. I think for my husband and I, then there's the investment part of it. We want to really have at least, I don't quite know what it looks like at this moment in time, but you know, at least a few things on the investment side, which we don't have right now. So kind of the next focus.
It's really good.
And I don't have any. I think that's what we're talking about. This is in the fourth quarter last year was the first quarter since 2012 that I made negative monies, and to the point of like, I'm cutting checks left and right, you know, going under kind of thing. And we're not going under, but if that continues, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Like, I understand how physics works, put it that way. And if we're going to continue to move downward, then I'm going to crash. And so we kind of got to the point where, again, we talk about like not firing fast. Sometimes that's because financially too, right? And so I probably should have made financial decisions when we did the research and noticed it in like May of last year. So I'm like 12 months behind making smart decisions financially. And so we're really focused on, I don't want to say condensing. I don't know if that's the right word, but being more purposeful, getting into the sales process for cheap, really cheap. And yeah, we cut an office expense. We're cutting staff. We're shrinking our team. We got to get back into the black, right? And that just means more communication, more sales, less expenses. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And then I'll think about 5 years in like 2 years.
Thank you. Because that's an awesome answer. Because I think it's real. I mean, would you guys agree? It's real. Like this is real talk. We all went through some stuff. For those of us that have been doing this a while, this last quarter of we saw it in 2022. Wasn't it in December? We lost as many agents as we had gained in the whole year. We lost like in that month. It was some crazy number, right? And so it allowed for us to just get real for a minute. And it's like Gary says in chapter 1, right? Get real, get right. And then we can start building on that. So I love the focus. Like, we're just going to focus and we're going to do this. You have something. You have it like on a big dream board somewhere in your computer or on a board somewhere in your house, or there's something, and you're just going to revisit that after you figure this piece out right now. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Just not today.
Okay. Today, we're gonna get into activities and action. What's a question that I should have asked you that I didn't? Not good.
Be thorough.
Am I like, what's wrong?
Unbelievable.
Nothing you can think of that I should have asked. I'm gonna open it up for peeps because we got a few minutes left, but is there anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask? I think I went through all of them. Good?
That's pretty good.
Mhm.
Yes, it really amazing. Best interviewees. All right, who's got some questions that they have that they would love to ask? Now's your time.
I do.
Awesome. Ask away.
Hi, Travis and Kendra. Thank you for doing this. I just have a quick question. Do you guys do any online marketing at all for your business?
Yeah, it's a part of our, so yes. Some of it we cut, so like we don't do any Google ad spend anymore. That's actually like another mistake we made in our career, and then like tried to revisit it as if we didn't understand that we screwed up the first time. That's so funny. But we spent, I don't know, $10,000 or something in like 2017, and then made like a whopping $0 on Google. And then when we hired somebody, we did it again, but then we increased our spend. Good idea. And then made like zero. That was awesome. Actually, it's a negative because when you hire somebody to do something and you don't make anything.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So, but like, we do things on a little bit of things on Facebook. Here's what I would say. Kendra and I are similar in this sense, I think. We're not social media people. I don't like it at all. In fact, I really don't like it. Okay. It's like nails on a chalkboard. But I understand that we have to do it a little bit. So we use it as a part of our like communicate on purpose over time. People call me and say they saw something of ours on Facebook. Not very purposeful. That's as purposeful as I get. Could be better and you could generate more. You know what I mean? Somebody could be better at whatever it is to generate more. But the best way to put it is this: if I were to invite you to come to my house for a party, and I sent you a Facebook invite, it's not the same as a phone call. It's just not. I could send you an Instagram thing, I could send you an email, I could send you a text. None of them. I mean, if I called you and invited me to my house for a party, you'd be like, God damn, Travis just called me. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Do it all, and call.
So good. I love it because we have people that are super social media people and it works for them. And then when you try to put somebody who's not a social media person in that seat to do social media, it's just not in alignment. It doesn't align with the values that we have. And it's not bad or good. It just is. So I love that answer.
There's a number problem too, right? So like, let's say if I make 100 phone calls, I can set an appointment 100%. I mean, there's no way that number is wrong. Gary says it's 1 in 50. So let's say he's half wrong, then it's 1 in 100. It's not 1 in 100 on social media, right? So if you're an influencer or something and you have 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 followers or something like that, cool. But you're not getting 1,000 appointments with 50,000 followers, right? But if I called 50,000 people, I'd get 1,000 appointments.
What other questions?
For Kendra, what advice do you have for, I think there's a lot of new agents right now, and you were in that seat. What is your best advice for the new agent?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the biggest thing is communicating with people that you already know, right? Yeah, I mean, it's like the resounding theme here, but you have a database already, like built in. There's people that you've been building relationships with your entire life. And so I think solidifying yourself as that person in their life that they obviously trust and can come to for real estate advice and all of that. I mean, honestly, I think getting coffee with people is like one of my favorite things. And it's fun for me. I'm extremely social, so I need a lot of that too. So it's kind of that, I'm not calling people up going like, hey, I need leads. So like, that's why I'm calling you. It's like, no, let's just build that relationship. And inevitably you're going to get to share what you're doing. And it can take time, but sometimes people really can like, sorry.
I gotta go pick up my kid.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a number of things right away. Deals that I got that I just literally had no expectations. I was just meeting with people that I hadn't like seen in a while. And then something worked out, whether it was 6 months or a year or 2 years later, it's like I ended up winning that person's business just by continuing to follow up with them and seeing how their lives were going.
It's a long game you're playing.
Yeah.
It was a relationship game.
Yeah.
Mhm. Good. Ben,
Travis, before a team, how was your business operating? What were you doing from, what was it, 04 to 2012?
Yeah, I was with Jen on a team for that time. When I was with Remax, it was very much, I was in the office and there would be like 2 other people there. The broker was always present, Greg Kuntz. If you haven't met him yet, he's awesome. Greg's a very good man, very good man. He was always there. And then there was like another guy there, and then me. And it was an office of like 110 people. So I just made calls. But even in 04, it just switched. You remember, it just switched to the MLS online. So we had the book and the. So that's kind of what it looked like. I don't think that quite answers your question. You're probably looking for something different.
No, I was just curious.
so did you utilize any systems like for the people that are not quite ready to hire? Okay, they're in that messy middle where they've got so many things happening that sometimes they forget things, it drops off the plate. Did you use any contract people like TC, transaction coordinators? Did you use, I mean, back in the day, that wasn't kind of as prevalent as it is now.
Yeah, the year that I knew I needed help is like 60, 65 transactions, and it just was a lot. But the problem was I wasn't providing the service that the client deserved. That's really what happened. And so I knew that, right? I internally knew that they deserved more from me. So I hired a part-time staff to kind of fill in those blanks. We do like postcard marketing, which you can fairly automate. You can do email marketing, fairly automated. And so those things I've almost always automated. When we hired marketing staff, they took it over a little bit, but we'll just go back to automating it. Yeah, the transaction, I mean, Crystal is amazing.
Yeah.
So Kendra and I both have, she says like we like to talk or whatever. So whatever can be said in like 10 words, we use 110, right? That's fine. That's totally fine. But I can't, like, if you gave me a checklist once, I would like crush it for you, right? Like you would be like, damn, that dude, like, he's awesome at checklists, which you would be wrong. What I'm good at is like doing something really well for you, right? But I'm not good.
If I had to do that,
If I had to do it
every
every day, then, or it's not me.
Yeah.
But Crystal's the exact opposite. She's like, I don't want to talk to people, just give me a checklist and I'll always do the checklist.
in like 10 times as fast as you could do it, basically.
Yeah. Especially more thorough, right?
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
it's like,
better way.
because as salespeople will be like, well, number 1's like sort of important. But it's like, number 3 is way more important. So I'm gonna go to number 3 and like, well, I don't need to send a note card. I don't need to do that because like I'm busy, so I'm not gonna send a note card. Yeah. So.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea.
Travis, what was your path of your business? So you were on a team for a while and then you went solo agent? Is that what I
No,
found?
I was solo at Remax.
Okay.
for a while, and then I joined a super small team, just me and one other person at Remax. And then the market shifted, and Remax at the time just didn't, didn't resonate. And actually Shelley Holtz is who brought me to the company. And I met with Jen and also love at first sight. So that was really easy. She was Kelly Williams at that time.
I'm just hitting the record button. That was awesome. Keep going.
And then I was with Gorman's team for not long, actually. It was maybe like 6 months. And our conversations were always really funny because you're just like, well, you probably shouldn't be doing this on the team, is really what you would say. And I'm just like, but I really think I should be on a team. And so through consult with the person running the team, she basically got me off the team. And
Happy.
yeah, and then from there it was, really figuring out the database and trying to figure out, Gary says you should get like 2 sales for every 8 people in your database. I've never gotten that number. We get about 1 for every 10, which is also really mathematically easy to figure out. And so
That's the new number, by the way, and someday MRE, it's 1.
yeah, I heard that too. I like to think it's because Gary has seen me.
It's right. It's because you
Couple
got your
times.
notes. I got your notes.
So that year, when I left the Gorman team, I had like 150 people in a database. And then by the time Kendra came on, it was like 650. And this is people that I've at least met face to face and then communicated with on purpose and over time. Sad truth is we're at about 650. Okay. Because we rode the way. So that's what it looked like though.
How many times have you heard him say on purpose over time? I was going to ask you what some of your values were in that, but it shows up. It shows up all the time in how you speak. It's people, relationships, on purpose, over time, like that. It just shows up.
Yeah, it would be awesome if you like came to work on Monday, right? Met a client, showed them a home on Tuesday, inspected on Thursday, got paid on Friday, spent time with the family on Saturday and Sunday. That's not how it works,
Not
right?
always.
It's an overtime thing.
Yeah. This been good, guys?
Yep.
Anything else that you want to ask before they take off? Good? Yes.
So you talked about having friends and they didn't sign up with you. Have you had the instance where it's cost you a relationship because of either they became a client or didn't become a client? You could have a bad experience. May not have been your fault, right? And with a friend or a relative or whatever, and it's cost a relationship. Have you had that happen? How did you handle it?
I mean, you've got such a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have one that,
Good one.
I'm sorry, dear.
so I have helped them previously buy a home and,
So,
and sell, yeah, I did. And sell a home. And then, fast forward a few years and they are also small business owners who I, was a client of. And so they were I would see them somewhat regularly and they were asking me about a house. So I pulled it up and I'm like, hey, let's go see it. Like it's and then they're like, oh, we're not ready. So then all of a sudden realize that it's off the market. And all of a sudden, find out that it's them who bought it, right? With another agent and sold their house that I helped them buy with another agent. And then, of course I see them then and I'm not like somebody, I say things very nicely. However, I don't not say what I'm thinking either. And so I, of course, just asked, I'm like, oh, hey, I saw that house went off the market. Is it you that bought it? And they were like, oh, yeah, sorry. We used a family friend and, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. and I had to really like figure out how to deal with that a little bit for myself. I mean, I don't go to them anymore, so there is that. But I think it just became quite clear that we didn't have the same values. And at some point, even though I don't necessarily think that, I think I could have swallowed that pill and been like, all right, cool, you know, like maybe we'll do business together in the future and I should just keep following up, which is actually my mindset on it. I don't think that anybody, I don't think that I have like a right to somebody's business. I don't think that they owe me anything. And so if they really just chose a different realtor, I'm fine with that. At the end of the day, I didn't win their business for some reason. Obviously, I want to know what it is, but you don't always get to. However, in this particular instance, you know, that was one of a few things that then I realized that our values didn't align. And I don't think I would have wanted them as a client necessarily in the future. You know, if they called me up and asked me to do real estate with them, I'd probably say yes. But I don't necessarily, you know, I'm not, the focus isn't there on that relationship the same way. We talk about like, you know, you've got a smaller sphere within your sphere, right? So kind of your people, like, I think of it in terms of like maybe 50 people or so, maybe even less. And they were kind of in that group for me. They're not in that group for me anymore, right? But I feel like now I've mostly let it go.
Now that you bring it up. Yeah. Oh, that's so, yeah. Isn't it true that we get to learn some lessons along the way? What is that saying that says, when they show you who they are, believe them?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes without any angst. It's just, okay, it's just not a good fit.
Right. Exactly.
All right, guys. I appreciate you all for spending time with us. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for sharing. We really, really, really appreciate it. And go out there and make contacts with people, build relationships, be on purpose over time, right? There you go. Thank you all. Yay.